Thank you so much. Okay, so it is 6:04 where we're at. That's 9:04 Eastern. I'm going to go ahead and call us to order at this time. We are going to do public comment, but it's only going to be 1 minute because everybody is in a hurry. So if you'd like to make public comment, please go down to the bottom and raise your hand. And in the meantime, our secretary is going to get roll call started.
Okay, the chair is here. Mr. Rutherford is notified absent. I am present. Mr. Redpath?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Here.
Mr. Nikela?
Here.
Okay, Mr. Vinson? Okay, I didn't see Mr. Vinson, so let me just mark him as absent. Mr. Watkins?
Here.
Ms. Yanuskavich is in the room with Ms. McCardle. Mr. Dar?
Here.
Is Mr. Dassing here? Okay. Mr. Garcia? I did not see him, but I'm just marking him absent. Ms. Hayes? Okay. I'm sorry? Oh,
I'm
she's
here.
here. Okay, sorry about that. Mr. McGee?
He will be late. I'm here in his stead as alternate.
Okay, thank you. Right now I have to mark him as absent. Mr. Bracco? Mr. Bracco is absent, making me do all this red highlighting. Mr. Hirsch? Okay, he's absent. Mr. Chatterton? I thought I saw. Okay, thank you. Mr. Sean? Okay, I didn't see him. Mr. Thompson, excuse me.
Present.
Mr. Weir?
Yep.
Okay, Madam Chair, again, from the XCOM, only Mr. Rutherford is absent. Out of at-larges, Mr. Vinson is absent. Out of regionals, Mr. Dassing is absent, and Mr. Bracco, so Region 5 is not present. Out of Region 1, Mr. Garcia is absent, but first alternate, Mr. Chatterton is present. Mr. McGee is absent, but his alternate is present. Mr. Johnson. And then out of the alternates, Mr. Bracco is absent, Mr. Hirsch is absent, and Mr. Sean is absent. So the only region without representation present is 5.
All right. Thank you very much. Does anyone know if the Region 5 reps are going to attend?
I saw Mr. Hirsch earlier.
No.
He did not indicate intent to.
I got it, yes.
Hold on.
I can text Paul.
Please. Okay.
You might be attending that still.
Region 5. That would
That's
be
Hirsch, right? Mr. Hirsch. He's here.
Otto Dassing.
Oh, I don't know about.
Okay. So
Mr. Hirsch is here?
I don't know if Mr. Hirsch is here.
Okay.
Do we have Mr. Otto Dassing?
I'm texting him now.
Thank you so much. Okay, do we have public comments? Let's get things rolling. If you want to give public comment, go down to the bottom and click raise hand. Oh boy. I don't see any hands raised. I'm going to give it like 5 more seconds.
The Zoom interface has changed a little bit. If people might be raise hands no longer under reactions, at least on mine, it's a separate button. I had a hard time finding it in the past.
Nope, we have 1. Anyone else? Okay, well, I don't think we're going to have a lot of public comment tonight, which is fine. We have 1 hand raised. It's by the name Carol Moore. You've got 1 minute to share public comment with us. Please share what state you're from as well.
You're muted, Miss Moore.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was a chat.
Yeah, I saw some of the cards at the Freedom Fest, and has Baby Daddy as the CEO, assistant CEO, who I assume is Mr. Paget. So is he working for you again?
Madam
Don't you
Chair,
know it?
decorum, Madam Chair.
Ms. Moore, I'm so sorry. I don't know who your baby daddy is or anyone.
Baby Daddy, Mr. Paget, he's working for the LPN, and you may.
No, I'm really sorry about that. But
I moved to close public comment.
there we go. Thank you so much. Ms. Moore, I hope you have a fantastic evening. But that's going to be it for you tonight. Thank you, guys.
Madam
Oh,
Chair, does anyone else besides Ms. Moore wish to give public comment?
We don't see any hands raised.
Okay, Mr. Bracco is entering the room.
All right, we have Mr. Paul Bracco.
Yep, I got him.
Okay, I think since we're done with public comment, we're just going to go to, I believe, Madam Secretary, it's the only agenda item because yours was withdrawn. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So the agenda item that we have is, sorry, there's a little bit of feedback. If you guys could just cover the speaker on your phone. Beautiful. Sorry, we're trying to make sure that everybody's actually logged in and participating, but just using the audio on my laptop. It's a move to authorize the LNC to enter into a joint fundraising agreement with the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaign.
Let me make sure I have this wording down. So motion to authorize the LNC to enter into a joint fundraising agreement with the RFK Jr. campaign.
That's correct.
Okay.
I guess I would also I would specify 2024 campaign.
Okay.
Just for the sake of clarity. So I'll go ahead and speak to this a little bit since I'm the one that agendized it. Mr. Kennedy's campaign is an independent campaign, and it is not tied to a national political party. A joint fundraising committee is a special fundraising committee authorized by the FEC, where an individual donor can donate the maximum amount that's allowable to a national political party, which I believe is $42,300. As an independent candidate, Mr. Kennedy is not associated with a campaign, so he's maxed out for his donors basically at the individual contribution level. This would allow Kennedy supporters to donate to their candidate of choice at a larger level in connection with the Libertarian Party. So we would basically, you have to set up a special joint fundraising committee and a dedicated bank account, which could also be basically just another account with one of our banks. And his supporters can donate there, and they basically get to borrow our contribution limits. And what we would do is we would square up with him at the end of every month or ever so often, and we would keep 10% of what is donated to that campaign, and then 90% of it, the remaining amount, would go back to his campaign. So people have asked, how are we going to use the money? Some of it I can get really granular in executive session, but just generally to the membership, we use our amount however we see fit. There's no limitation on what we can use it for outside of, the limitations that are already placed on us by the FEC. And that is what this is about. It's not a bid for nomination or something like that, or it's not tied to any public promotion of him. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions. It is time sensitive for some reasons that I will share in executive session, including the opportunity. Trying to think if there's if executive committee members only maybe have any questions that they think I could answer to the public, you could go ahead and ask them now. and I'll give you some more granular details, and we can go over the actual terms of the contract in executive session. Mr. Ford?
I had my hand raised from the moment you started speaking, Madam Chair.
Okay, Madam Secretary?
Okay, thank you. I understand that you say that the reasons that this is an EC meeting will be in private session. I do think members have a right to know why this is not going to the full LNC. I believe it should go to the full LNC. However, the full LNC can still choose to take it out of the hands of the executive committee. I was open to hear what was being said, even though my predisposition to coming in here was to be against it. I've heard nothing that changed it. And in fact, I'm now even more against it. What I've heard is poor Mr. Kennedy. He can't raise more money. So we're just going to allow a competitor to our candidate use our party to allow them to raise more money for the cheap price of 10%. That is a Faustian bargain that completely compromises our principles. And I'm now even more convinced that it goes against the bylaws. I understand the chair doesn't agree with me, so I'm not even going to bother raising a point of order. I do intend upon filing a judicial committee appeal if this passes. I believe we are letting the barbarians in at the gate. We are a distinct political movement. I was hoping to hear something, and maybe it will be an executive session about, crap, if it was going to be 90-10, it should be 90% to our candidate if we're going to allow them to use our party in this way. The fact that he's an independent candidate makes no difference. I really wish that people would read the principles of interpretation. When something of a lesser degree is prohibited, those of a greater degree are. We are not to be assisting our opposition in their campaigns. This isn't a single issue coalition. This is just blatantly going, well, you give us a cut and we'll help you raise more money. I do not see at all how that fits into the purpose of the Libertarian Party whatsoever, allowing his donors to borrow our limits. And that 10% out of that's going to come the increased bookkeeping costs and things like that. But to be honest with you, it wouldn't matter to me if it was 50-50, but 10% is just shockingly, absolutely shockingly low. And what this does, whether it's the intent or not, it gives cover for absolute oath-breaking libertarian affiliates, such as the Libertarian Party of Colorado, to follow suit because they'll go, it can't possibly be wrong. The National Party is doing it. I believe this is absolutely wrong, and this is a sad, sad day in the history of the Libertarian Party, and shame on us. I am done with that portion of my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So the goal for the LNC, our monthly fundraising goal with this would be $100,000 a month. So that's the financial aspect of it. Okay, up next we have, I believe, Mr. Ford, sorry, and then Mr. Maligan.
Just a brief question, and this may obviously traipse into the area of executive session, but it does, I understand. What style of advertising will the Kennedy campaign be doing? Is there input into that? What focus will they be doing?
I will, oh, just one second. Guys, if you're not speaking, please make sure to mute yourself. All right. I will share that in executive session, but it's basically, we get to be the drivers on what that looks like. And so I came up with a sample that I thought would be palatable to everyone, and I'll share it with you. But there's been nothing decided yet, and they realize that it, kind of sensitive. I hope that.
As a quick follow up, the important point is that we will have considerable control, or some element of control over what. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Ford. Up next, we have Mr. Maligan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start off by just requesting that someone check in on Miss Moore. She doesn't seem well. She has about the same cognitive, I don't know, she has the same cognitive ability that our president does, and that's very concerning. Nevertheless, I would just like to respond to a few
Why are
points
you
regarding the
such a
Kennedy
faggot,
campaign.
Adrian?
There is no universe of discourse in which we are assisting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I talked about this when I invited him here to California. I once joked about how I would like my tombstone to read Adrian F. Malagon, the man who gave RFK Jr. a platform. It's just absolutely absurd to think that we would be helping him in any capacity. He is the one assisting us. And I think that that's something to really take note here, that if we can take advantage of a situation that would be beneficial to us, it would be incredibly foolish not to do it. I understand the principle argument. Principle is different than politics. We have kept our principles, and we can continue to keep our principles while being politically savvy. There was a poll once, and on Twitter by Mr. Jeremy Kauffman that said, "What are libertarians worst at?" And he had four options. I don't recall what they were, but Congressman Massey replied and said politics. And at that point, Mr. Kauffman closed the poll because it got such an overwhelming response that it was just true. And speaking with Congressman Massey earlier today, I mean, nothing has been more clear, and this entire situation just makes that much more clear to me. So I think that people really need to take that into account as we consider this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malagon. Up next, we have our secretary.
I would prefer Mr. Watkins go before me because he hasn't spoken.
Thank you. I was just going to piggyback off of what Adrian just said.
Madam Secretary, did you have comment?
Oh, I wanted Mr. Watkins to go before me because it would be my second time, and I didn't believe that was fair. I'll go after Mr. Watkins.
Thank you.
Watkins?
Yeah. I was just going to piggyback a little bit off of what Adrian just said. Again, it's obvious that the Kennedy campaign would be helping us. I just want to reiterate that because there's no way that we would be making $100,000 more than we are now. If that's the goal, it could be a little less, could be a little more, whatever it is. We would not be making that otherwise. And that is a lot of money that could be used to help our campaign and other local races in whatever form that we see best fit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watkins. Okay, up next, did our secretary want to jump in, or did you want Mr. Nikela to go?
Yeah, I'd like to only speak second after everyone who's had an opportunity to speak first.
Okay, Mr. Nikela.
Thank you. What do if this passes, what are we expecting to net from now till November? What do you think our 10% is going to be?
I mentioned earlier it's going to the target is $100,000 a month.
$100,000 a month. That would be net. That would be the 10%.
Yes, per month.
Got it. Okay, I wasn't clear. Okay.
Yep. Gotcha.
Thanks.
All right, Madam Secretary.
Okay, thank you. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Malagon. We absolutely are helping him. I mean, it was very explicit in the chair's comments. He's running, his donors are running against a certain FEC limit, and we are allowing them to use our limits. That is helping them. It is giving them a benefit they would not have. Now, you might go, it's worth it for the amount of money we're doing, but if we're just talking about ways to raise money, I mean, if we're just going to say anything goes, whether or not we're helping, because we are, let's not kid ourselves. Let's talk about what we're actually doing. It could be helping us too. I'm not denying that. If you consider the price of our soul to be worth $100,000 a month, we are throwing our candidate under the bus with this. And again, I just think it's so clearly a bylaws violation that it's not going to. I don't believe it's going to stand, but maybe it will. You know, I've lost JC Peels before, but this party was founded because there was no principles in politics. To say that politics is different from principles is to go against the very DNA of our party. And if we're talking about how much we're helping and we could do so much for our candidates with this money, Well, it just seems like we can't even, at least right now, pass a motion to send the nomination forms for our candidates into the Secretary of State's office. So color me very, very skeptical. This is rank opportunism, in my opinion. And I would urge the EC to vote it down. I would also urge the EC to be very careful about what's said in executive session. I don't mean careful like as a cautionary tale. I mean careful that members are not kept from hearing things that do not legitimately fall within the bounds of executive session. I know there's this big reputation that we discuss things in XCOM that really don't belong there. That isn't the case. I mean, obviously, with my strong opposition to this, if I wanted to just rail on the LNC, I would say we do that all the time. But I'm sorry that there's those suspicions. That hasn't happened. Our executive sessions have been legitimate. But I would really urge the XCOM to make sure that it stays that way for this, that the party members hear everything that they possibly can hear, understanding that contractual things, some things do need to be an executive session.
Madam Secretary, I appreciate that, but I've just had, 20 minutes of very public commentary about a contract, which I've never really done before.
I was trying to compliment you, Madam Chair, that we do follow
it's
that.
Starting to feel a little bit, like an insinuation or a personal attack. So I appreciate you clarifying.
Yes, I actually was trying to say you have kept executive sessions on the straight and narrow and encourage us to continue to do so. If you thought that was an attack, I completely did not mean it that way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to hear from Mr. Ware, and then I'm going to move to go into executive session. Mr. Ware?
How much of the data that's collected from this fundraising campaign will come to us, and how much goes to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.?
Let's talk about that in a granular way in executive session. I'll answer it, and then also when I move to go into executive session, I think that's going to answer some questions because the way I word the motion. Okay, so I'm going to move that we go into executive session to discuss the details of a joint fundraising committee with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. with the caveat that some of the details will, some of the additional details in the contract will be made public after it's been signed and the committee has been created.
Madam Chair, you said that so fast.
Sure.
So I'm sorry if I just typed move to go into executive session.
To discuss the details of a joint, creating a joint fundraising committee with the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaign, with the caveat that some additional details about the contract will be made public after we've created a joint fundraising committee.
Okay, let me make sure I have this in. Okay, move to go into executive session to discuss the details of creating a joint fundraising committee with the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaign, with the caveat that some additional details of the contract, I'm sorry, I lost it from there, and I think it was of the joint fundraising committee, will be made public after the agreement is signed.
After the agreement is signed and the committee is created.
Okay. Okay, I've got it.
Okay. Think we could use a second.
Second.
Okay. Any objection?
No objection, but I just like to say, according to the policy manual, I will put you all into an executive session room. I will not be attending this executive session. It's not because I think I couldn't keep confidentiality. I always have. I do not want any more information than the average member has, because I believe it's a bylaws violation and I can't countenance that. So I will stay in the waiting room to make sure that inappropriate, that we keep things to a dull roar, and I will open up a room for the rest of you all. and I will be waiting for when we come back for a vote, if any. Let me try to create that room. Breakout rooms.
Okay, thank you. We're going to stand at ease for like 2 minutes while the secretary gets that.
Okay, create. I've never done it this way, so this is kind of new for me. So add room. I think it's just going to be called room 2. Oh, rename. Okay, so I'll put this as X session. Okay, I'm going to start putting you all into this room.
All right, I think we have everyone back. Maybe? No?
I'm back.
Okay. Trying to get our secretary.
I'm here.
Okay. I think we got. All right. Do we have all of our executive committee members?
Pat Forzier.
All right. Nice. Okay.
Rhode Island sucks.
Madam Secretary, when you're ready, can you get us teed up for a ballot, please?
I can. Is it possible to make one more brief debate comment before we vote, or no?
It is not. I'm so sorry. We're just going straight to a vote. We're all late to an event that we're co-hosting.
All right, one moment. Do you need me to read the motion again?
Yes, please.
One moment. Move to authorize the LNC to enter into a joint fundraising agreement with the RFK Jr. 2024 campaign. Mr. Ford.
I'm sorry. Yes.
1 second.
I
I'm
vote yes.
having problems with my computer. I don't know why it won't work there. Let me go to a different screen. Actually, it's such a small committee. I could just type it. Mr. Rutherford is absent. I am passing. Mr. Redpath.
I will pass.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich.
Yes.
I am voting no. Mr. Redpath.
I will abstain.
Madam Chair, it is 3 yeses, 1 no, 1 abstention. We do have an executive committee member absent. Yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So it is 4 yeses, 1 abstention, and 1 no. And
All right, the motion passes.
okay. I'm going to wait till after adjournment, but I would really encourage executive committee members to hear what I have to say, but you don't have to after we adjourn.
Okay, there's the only thing left is adjournment. So we're gonna adjourn at 10:03 Eastern. And I apologize, but we are late again. We have to go to an event that started 3 minutes ago.
It's 20 minutes.
Any objection to adjournment? Okay, hearing none. All right, we're off.